My name is Esmeralda Cloete. I was born and raised in Windhoek, Namibia, and that's where I grew up. I started at College of the Arts, also known as COTA, by doing a performing arts diploma. It was called APA back then. And that's where my journey initially started into, arts. So I did that, and then I moved on to applying for drama therapy at the program here at the Wits University in Johannesburg, in South Africa, where I'm currently based. As I was starting at College of the Arts, I majored in drama studies, and throughout my studies and my experiences, I was always curious about finding ways of merging psychology and drama. And at that point, I was fascinated by it. So I learned about the the drama therapy course at Drama for Life in Wits University through a friend of mine, and I researched and I was very intrigued by it. So I gave it a chance, and I sort of got into it. I got accepted, and I did my honors and then moved into my master's. So it is only the program is only offered in on the continent at Wits University currently, and it starts at the honors level. So there are various requirements you need to enter into the program, and I was lucky enough at that point when I was registering or applying rather. I had quite a broad experience in the theater industry that time, and some exposure to remedial education and drama teaching and all of that. So all of those experiences sort of helped me get into the program. Applied theater. It's also sometimes where I am currently, it's referred to as applied drama, is sort of a general or umbrella term that is used to define, theater work, theater methods and techniques that are being used outside of the conventional traditional theater, you know, places or spaces rather. And the main sort of the fundamental basis of it is social work, and going into communities and doing work with groups and in spaces that are traditionally not reached by the theater, or the theater work that we know it as. The short answer is yes. I at some level, you meet at some stage, you meet um, the more seasoned practitioners and our, what do we call them, veteran actors and theater makers. And I had the great opportunity of really meeting and working with some of our our veterans in the space, doing community theater. um, what was the other, industrial theater, theater for development. But at that time, I was more focused on the acting, because I was a drama student. So there's more about the acting. But what I can say about that is that there's always been a way of working that, even though it was not sort of language as this is an applied theater, project, or you didn't know what the terminology meant, or you didn't even know what the concepts were. Definitely the experience was that, you auditioned for something, or you were recruited to be part of a project where you went into the community and you worked with the community members. You put up a play, you did a bit of research, although you never knew what research was, at that level. So there has been a element of that present. And I can also speak back to the we have had, like I said, the our veterans in the industry really, for me at least, in my experience, you know, giving you a hand and saying, hey, come here, this is this, whether it's in poetry or community or industrial theater. So there are moments that you can trace back and say, this is what has been happening. Drama therapy, the easiest and the quickest way to answer that is to sort of take the two words apart and deconstruct them, right? To get to understand what it is as a concept. So in short, it is using drama for therapy purposes. But the field of drama therapy is, in the field itself, drama therapy is defined as a a creative arts psychotherapy that is used for therapeutic purposes. And it is sort of known as to be the youngest or the newest member of the creative arts therapy. So there are other creative arts therapies like music therapy and play therapy or art therapy that have been existing before drama therapy. But in general, what we're doing in drama therapy, or what the idea is, you are using drama's techniques, drama methods, drama concepts and ideas and experiences and processes to really enhance a person's therapeutic experience. So it is a new form of working, but at the core of it, the aim is based on using the potentials, the healing potentials of the medium of drama for therapeutic purposes. I believe as long as, humanity has been around, there has been art, right? So we can trace arts practices as back as, the first man, that has walked the earth and before, many societies and civilizations were formed. So yes, in the African context, we know we have always used, we have used performance, like performance art in daily rituals. So we can't separate music, dance, storytelling from everyday life, because it is part of our livelihoods. We know it was used for initiations, it was used for rites of passages, it was used for celebrations, it was used for prayer and healing. So it has been around in as much as dance has been around, right? And its functions has been specific to the needs of the people back then, and even that is, it was reenacting, using different voices for impact, for or what is it, embodying and acting out different ways to tell a story. Those are some of the methods and techniques that sort of prove or are evidence that drama and the arts in general have been used in traditional societies for purposes other than entertainment. And that's where we draw our inspiration from. So, and as even in the contemporary world, we know drama in itself has some form of relief. There's something that it does to you before we even say could call it therapy. You went to a drama class and you felt happy, you felt you could express yourself, you felt confident, you felt like you could play. And in the modern field, or the new field that has come up, is that we're just using those things that have already been there and saying, how can we take that and really hone in and make it a therapeutic experience. And that is sort of how it originated. But even when you look at the origin story of drama therapy and the founders of it, it was used in situations where they were just testing it out. They were like, we know this is a fun thing to use, these are interesting methods, let's try and use them on on veterans or people who suffered in war or whatever, to see what the impacts, and that's how it came about. So it has been around. It is been around as much as music has been around, and yeah, it has been working since those days. Drama therapy is really a great approach, and it, because of its flexibility and because of its the medium, right, which is accessible to most people, even to social groups of people who are disabled or who are not verbally able to express themselves, the elderly, young children, teenagers, adults. It is because the medium is so flexible and we can really adjust it and shape it and form it to meet the needs of its people. So that is the characteristic that really makes it something that can be explored with different groups of people or individual clients in different challenges or different having different differences, right? um, so the main thing is that we use the medium to assess how what's happening and how people are able to engage with it. So by letting someone come to a session, for example, or having a drama therapy session, we would say, let's do this and see how the group responds to that. And even in the sessions, you can find out, maybe the group is not responding to this method. What are the groups telling you? They want to tell stories, so you use storytelling, right? So because that is the language that the group is suggesting. The group just wants to play, or maybe they just want to draw, and that's the wonderful thing about drama therapy, because it's so the possibilities are endless that you can explore, and it really is, the work really is about meeting your group or your participants or your clients where they are at, and finding out what is the best way they can engage with you through this medium. The reflective practice, reflexivity. Yes, these are big words. And I think it's valuable always to go back to what they mean before we can try and conceptualize them and, define them. But I believe that the practice itself, the way I sort of approach it and work, understand it, is that it's by saying reflective practice is that it's a way of working, right? It's a way of doing, it's a way of being, right? So that's sort of like a little, what can we call it, field or little, it's not a technique, but it's almost a containing element of the work I do in my training. So the praxis is really bringing the theory and the practice together, and really seeing how that looks like on the floor, because the theories that underpin our training and understanding are not always synonymous to what the work looks like on the floor. So in essence, reflexivity is very essential, and I believe it's important in the work we do, because it's allowing us to slow down, take a step back, and reevaluate what is important, especially in applied work, because of the nature of applied theater work. It's commission, it's seasonal, it's project to project, and there's so much work that goes in before the actual work, before the actual training or the workshop or the facilitation that we have to take care of. So if we don't take a moment down to sit down and reflect on ourselves, the work, the intention, the purpose, we just come with all of that in it's like, let's get this done and get paid and go home. But I think reflective praxis really is calling us to, or asking of us to look at the work and look at the work beyond what 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 is there, right? And it is asking of us to be critical, to be critical of what we are offering, to be critical of our biases, to be critical of our blind spots, to be critical of our privilege. And it's really a great tool. It's actually a tool that you can use to deepen conversations, enhance and enrich experiences, because sometimes we can, no matter, we can have a great experience, but if there's no reflexivity or critical awareness around it, then I believe it goes to waste, because you just don't know how much impact you have done. I think a great tool again to use is reflexivity and critical thinking, right? So helping our groups and our participants that we're working with, individuals we work with, to think critically. And we've also, and I think that being a tool, I believe it can help us to be mindful, right? So again, if we take a pause and take a moment to check in with ourselves, to say, all right, this is my job, this is my role, this is what I can do, this is the work that is asked of me, how much can I give, how much can I not give, what can I offer, what is beyond my role, my responsibility. And it's important to know those boundaries, and it helps us really sort of mold ourselves, what am I capable of doing and what can I not, because in reality you want to do so much, but the reality again can be that you are not equipped to, and it is not your job. But what you can do is you can refer people to it. You can, for example, have numbers, emergency contact details. In moments of crisis, there is a helpline, lifeline number you can call, instead of counseling somebody in a session who has had a breakdown, because you feel like it's your responsibility, because it happened in your workshop. The reality is that the reality can be that, yes, it is your space, it was your workshop, and the person had a breakdown and disclosed something, but the reality is that you still are not equipped to deal with this situation. So having critical reflective practice, or some kind of awareness of your boundaries and what you can and cannot do, is going to help you assess the situation and say, this is what I can do, this is the first aid that I can provide, but that's as far as I can offer. I can't take a person home and go and take care of them at my house. It's beyond my job. But I can refer them to a social worker, or give them a number, or I can call A, B, or C to intervene. And that's really the fundamentals of reflexive practice, and how it can really help us and protect us in our work, in whatever context you're working in. It helps you create boundaries and understanding the limits of your work. Yes, there is a way, and it goes back to the question of, do you want to make a difference? It has to start with us. If we want to make a change, and we start where we are, whether it is in that drama group, or in that theater production, or in that community project, whatever it is that you're doing, it has to start with us. And another thing I would recommend is dialogue. So interdisciplinary dialogue, and having moments of meeting and sharing, sort of exchanging moments between different art sectors, or artists, practitioners, cultural workers, and just get dialoguing around what are the challenges that we face in our spaces. Is it training that we need? Is it more resources? Obviously, we do need these things, but what are the challenges that we can combat, or, face together? So I think that cross-disciplinary dialogue is very important to happen. And I believe it has to begin. We need to just start. We need to start somewhere. As long as you can start, then you're on the right track. Things will unfold as you need, but if you need to start and speak to someone, reach out to someone, and then you never know, what information you'll get there. And another thing is, again, information, access to information. We need to read. We need to be curious about what's happening out there. We need to be participating in society the best we can. I mean, not everyone can participate in certain ways all the time, but you can, from your small corner, always find a way to know what's happening in your world, in your field of interest. I am a big believer in education as a great equalizer, and I think it begins with education. It begins with the dissemination of information. How, if we can want to change, we can want to forge groups and change the world, but if the people we are working with and ourselves are not educated or about certain things that are important, and having that critical thinking capacity, then we will struggle. There will be resistance, there will be stumble blocks, and it's not a linear process where A equals B and then things will be great. But I believe education is a great place to begin in every space, and not just for the educational sector, but just really improving the quality of education of our employers, our students, our lecturers, and that, just making sure the foundation. I think that's the foundation of anything, in terms of imagining a better future. Health wise, we have a long way to go. Mental health wise, we know we need a lot of work to intervene, take interventions into places, and share information about critical issues that we face as human beings, and that people have been facing and struggling and living with and coping with. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done now, especially now, with the pandemic. But education is key. It's so key, and I can't stress that enough, because I think that saved me. That has been my saving grace, because you learn and your mind opens, and you know better, you do better. But if you don't know better, you keep doing what you can do, or what you know how to do, and then you keep remaining where you are. There is a lot of change happening, and we need to take moments to appreciate that things are not what they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, and there has been improvement. So acknowledging that change in our industries, as theater practitioners, and how far we have come, and the potential of the work that has been done. I mean, of course, if we're looking at our industry back in Namibia, it's really about recognizing potential of the youth, and empowering the youth, and taking them under your arm, and providing opportunity, and that's the potential that is going to lead to more potential. So really just keeping up with that cycle of plowing back, giving back, each one teach one, inspire the young people, and that's the big thing. We need to inspire the young people, keep the youth engaged, make opportunities, create opportunities where they can explore, where they can find that there's more, and bringing the arts to the people, and not just keeping it in the institutions and in in the city, but taking it to the people where they can access it and just unlocking that potential. I think that's something that I really look forward to, just the growth of that, flowering of that potential, because there's so much in wealth in our communities, you know, that is undermined because it's not people don't have the language, access to the language, or to the information, or to, you know, whatever platform. But there is the wealth, and I think I'm really appreciative of what is slowly moving towards us, that awakening in our in our industry, you know, in the theater world at least, seeing that there's a interest that is turning towards the people and saying, what, how can we serve? And that's what we need. How can we serve, and how can we make more opportunities? How can we dream beyond what we know? So yes, I could go on and on and on about that and preach, but that's my dream, to see more community art and variety, and more what is it called, fusion, and collaborative work, and, you know, different things. So I'm excited about that.